Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, which are wonderful. They are 1-hour sessions that take place over the phone. And we start with an opening prayer that brings the angels in to be with us. I pull some oracle cards, and we have heartfelt, soulful conversation about whatever theme is up for you in your life. I bring you messages from the angels, and the intention is to help you connect with your divine guidance. And the sessions are just beautiful, and if you're ever guided to book your own session, you can contact me through my website. And typically I can get you in within a few days. I'm not one of these practitioners that books myself out months in advance. That would give me anxiety. So you can typically get in pretty quickly if you want a session. Then I also offer a longer form of support called soul mentoring. And with soul mentoring, I encourage you to commit to 12 weeks of sessions that are similar to angel sessions, but so much more because I track with you. It's like we share the boat, and it's designed to help you go through a period of growth or transformation or healing. And some of my mentoring people have been with me for years. Others just stay for the 12 weeks. And I only work with a handful of people at any given time. So I don't always have spots available for that particular offering. But if you are guided, reach out and we'll see if there is a spot open that is yours. And then I offer a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. And now I get to say, and I have a beautiful angel oracle deck called the Earth Angels Oracle that I just published and is available through drive-through cards. So lots of ways we can connect. And if you're not on my mailing list yet, I invite you to visit me at my website, illuminatingsouls.com. And there's 2 different places you can sign up for my mailing list. At the top of the homepage is just my regular list. You'll get all the announcements. Further down is an option to sign up for my daily inspiration email blast, where you will receive an inspiring email from me every weekday. And for now, I am here to help you come into a place of replenishment, of love, of sanctuary, and to help you drift off to sleep if that is your intention. I want to thank you for listening. We have a small but mighty audience for this podcast, and if you are enjoying it, I would appreciate it so much if you would consider leaving a rating and or review at Spotify or iTunes. I love reading your reviews, so if you are so inclined to write one and post it, I would be forever grateful. And also feel free to reach out and email me and let me know how you're enjoying the podcast. If you have favorite episodes, I love hearing from you. So listener feedback is invited and welcomed. So thank you. As I record this, it is early morning. Earlier than usual, I might add. My husband and I, we have a rhythm to our morning where usually we wake up a little early Thankfully, neither one of us needs an alarm. We just organically wake up, and it's our time to talk and share. And then my husband gets up and gets ready for work, so he gets up first. And then when he's done, I get up. We have one bathroom in the house, so it works better that way. We're not both up and about getting ready at the same time. And so this morning when it was my turn to get up, I looked at the clock and it was 5:15, which was much earlier than I'm normally up. Not by leaps and bounds, but usually I'm getting up and getting ready at about 20 to 6. And I said to my husband, "Why are we up so early?" And he said, "It's the normal time." I said, "I don't think it is." And even as I'm recording this, it's still dark out, whereas usually the sun has started coming up. So I whisper to you from the early morning, pre-sunrise, before the dawn has happened. And if I listen carefully, I can still hear crickets outside. They're not going to be picked up on the microphone because it's very faint. But there's something that is so sweet about the stillness of this time of day. And so I share that with you, this moment before the world wakes up and things get hectic again. I share with you the quiet, the soothing, the still energy. This time of day always feels to me that it is so gentle. I didn't always love early mornings, but I found that I came to love them in 2001 or 2002 when I started hiking in the mornings. That's a story for another day, but I'm so grateful my circadian rhythm has shifted, where I go to bed early and I wake up early. So I share some early morning, still, quiet energy with you. So, my beautiful friend, I invite you to take a nice deep breath in and just let it go, whatever your it is in this moment. Whatever came before this moment, to just let it go and release it into the arms of your angels, into the heart of God. And the angels are here, and this broadcast is infused with love and light. It is calibrated just for you. How does that work, you might wonder? Well, I'm not the one doing the calibration, the angels are. So when you listen to this broadcast, no matter when you listen, your angels will join you in live time and calibrate the love energy to what is needed for you in this moment. So if I'm listening to this episode 4 months from now, what I need from the angels might be different than what you receive. It's all love. So it's not as if I'm getting the winning lottery numbers, although that would be awesome. But this beautiful divine love, it can meet us where we are. I don't know how it works for you, but every once in a while, I find something that inspires me, whether it's something the angels say to me or I read somewhere, and I write it on a Post-it note. So my desk has all of these random Post-it notes with phone numbers and to-do lists and random quotes, and this one has been sitting on my desk for a while, so maybe it is time that I share it with you. And it says, "Your angels can meet you where you are. Invite them into your space." To me, that is so powerful, because I think sometimes on the spiritual journey, we feel as if we must shift consciousness to meet the divine in divine spaces. And listen, meditation is wonderful, and doing these exercises and having these experiences that raise our vibration so that we can open our consciousness to higher realms. These are wonderful experiences. But I don't ever want you to feel as if you must shift something other than awareness to experience the angels. Your angels will meet you where you are. So if you're overwhelmed, if you're anxious, if you're scattered, whatever it is, your angels can meet you where you are. So invite them into your space. One of my favorite prayers is, "Hey angels, help." I could use help here. I don't even need to know what kind of help I need because the angels know. And so it's one of the reasons that I love sharing the ritual of calling the angels in with you. It's that reminder for you and for me that in any moment we can say, "Angels, please, I invite you in. I welcome your assistance and your love." And just so you know, I forget to do this in my Earth Girl life all the time. Just last night I was anxious about something. Not big anxious. Like if the anxiety scale is 1 to 10 and 10 is full-blown anxiety, I was simmering maybe at a 4, which is definitely manageable, but it's still uncomfortable. Who wants to be at a 4 on the anxiety scale? And all I had to do was call in the angels and ask them to take over, and I completely forgot to do that because my Earth Girl was in the driver's seat and she was doing all kinds of future catastrophizing. That's a term they use at University of Santa Monica, and I think that's so brilliant. How often do we go into future catastrophizing? Like, oh my God, what if this happens? And then what if that happens? And I've shared with you before, I literally have a worry gene, which is very common, just so you know. There's a gene that controls the enzyme that breaks down dopamine in the prefrontal cortex. And in 25% of the population, the enzyme doesn't work properly. And so we get dopamine buildup, and that creates worry and anxiousness. And I have that gene. Again, 25% of people have it, so it's not very rare. And so I was in that spin last night, and as I'm talking to you right now, I'm having one of those. And if you're in my age stage, you will remember this reference where I want to smack my forehead and go, I could have had a V8. I could have just called in the angels to handle it. So here's a deep breath for all of those moments when we can call in angelic assistance. And I will help you remember, and you will help me remember to do this. So on that note, let's call in the angels so you get comfortable in whatever way works for you. I know comfort is sometimes elusive, so just whatever works best for you. And if you are preparing for sleep, to cozy on up and snuggle on in, my favorite thing to do at the end of the day, as we call ourselves forward into the heart of God. And beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And angels, I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love, waves of calming, soothing, light-filled energy. Angels, I ask that you clear away our worries and that which feels heavy to us, and infuse our path with love and joy and grace and goodness. And so, dear ones, just take a nice deep breath in. And if you have prayers and intentions that you would like to share with the angels and with God, I invite you to bring them into your heart now. Breathing in the calmness of this moment, the sweet, light-filled sanctuary that is here with you right now. The angels are aware of all that is transpiring in your life and in your heart, and they are here to support you. Your angels love you so much. They have known you since before you were born. They know your gifts. They know your idiosyncrasies. And they love you, every breath of you. And so just breathe and allow this love to flow to you. You would think receiving love would be so easy, and it can actually be one of the more challenging things that we are asked to do here on earth. One of the teachings that often comes forward is that as light workers, and if you're listening to this, you're a light worker, it means we have come to this earth to bring more love to this planet. And we are really good at giving love. We are really good at loving, at giving. But quite often our receiving muscle has atrophied, where it is harder to receive. And sometimes it can feel like molecules of love are too big to be absorbed. I have found this to be the case for myself. And when I say receive love, love comes in many forms, many flavors, many experiences. Right? So I have an easy time receiving love, for instance, from my husband. Right? That feels very easy for me. From my family, from friends. But sometimes receiving love and support, the molecules feel big for me. And I have to take a breath and let myself know that it's okay to receive. I think it's one of the things that caused me to gravitate into this work is that it gave me permission to receive love all the time from the divine. And that there is a vastness to this love. It is ever present. It is all encompassing. And it is a quality of love that I can gracefully receive. And hopefully that will be true for you as well, as you open to this divine love that is always here for you. And allow it to come in and soothe your spirit and your body and your mind. And just take another breath, sending this love to every circumstance in your life, to everyone, everything, just letting the angels bathe every morsel of your life with this divine love. And take another breath. You are so precious in this world, and I am so deeply grateful to be a voice in the world that helps you remember this. It is such an honor to keep you company in this moment and to share this experience with you. So, my beautiful friend, you go ahead and rest. And while you rest, your angels will be with you. And it's okay to drift off to sleep. I promise not to share anything too riveting. And so while you rest, I'm going to share a story with you. So for story time, I thought I would share with you about my experience in creating and releasing my oracle deck. This is not a subliminal marketing tool, so you will go buy it. If you know me well enough, you will absolutely know that is not my style. But I thought I would share with you about the co-creative process, because maybe it will inspire something for you. Maybe you want to make your own oracle deck someday. I think we should all make oracle decks. How cool would that be if we all had decks that reflected our wisdom and our love and our creativity, and we could swap them with each other? It'd be so amazing. So I thought this would make a good story time, because maybe there will be something in this that will be supportive for you. And maybe healing for me. One of my favorite terms is something Brené Brown calls vulnerability hangover. And it's a term, she says, describes how we feel when we have revealed a part of ourselves and then we feel profoundly vulnerable. And I have announced my oracle deck over the past week. I first announced it to my mailing list, and then yesterday I announced it on Facebook. And so I'm getting wonderful messages of encouragement and enthusiasm, and I started feeling very vulnerable. And that's not a bad thing. I don't mean to make that sound dark. It's not shadow material, but it's this experience of feeling revealed and visible. Not invisible, and visible. I just really wanted to clarify that. I feel profoundly visible right now in a new way. And that's not entirely comfortable, and it's okay. I think there are these moments when our comfort zone stretches and something new is born. So let me share with you about where the vision, the dream, the seed for this deck, how it was planted. So I never really learned to read tarot. Tarot wasn't my thing. I love a good tarot reading in terms of receiving one, but in terms of tarot being my oracle as a practitioner, it's never really spoken to my heart. One of the first decks I ever received that I loved and I felt like was for me was a deck called Reflections. Reflections was spelled with an X. I've never seen it before. It was likely self-published, and my friend Chrissy gave it to me. It had been her deck, and she gifted it to me, and it was a deck that had these abstract paintings on it that may have been made with alcohol ink or something. This would have been back in the 90s. And each card had one word on it. And my friends and I loved doing readings with this deck. There was one card called the Abyss card. And every time the Abyss card showed up in a reading, we would get really excited because we knew that that meant something big was at play. So the Reflections deck, I would say, was the first deck that really spoke to my heart. And the second one was the Osho Zen Tarot. So that is a form of a tarot deck, I think, but I experienced it much more as an oracle deck. And so in 2000, which was the year of my awakening, I really built a very intimate relationship with that deck for my own readings for myself. and I loved the artwork on that deck. I loved the guidebook for the deck. It's a wonderful oracle. And then somewhere around 2001-ish, I think, into about 2006, the Angel Oracle decks came out from Doreen Virtue and Hay House. And I don't remember when I got my first deck, but at some point during that time period, the deck Healing with the Angels found me. And I have dozens of different decks at this point. I think most of us who love oracle decks have dozens of decks. But Healing with the Angels became my deck. And truly the deck has continued to be in heavy rotation. I've done almost all of my angel readings with that deck for almost 20 years now. So I have a deep affinity for that deck. And so I think for any of us that have loved oracle decks, there likely has been this seed, this vision, this dream that said, I would love to create a deck someday. How many of you have had that thought? Well, me too. And over the years, I have researched what it would take to make a deck. So before this year, creating my own deck really felt out of reach. I would have needed to either work with an artist or license stock art or stock photos. And it would require a pretty hefty financial commitment. And then I would have to get the decks printed because I didn't have an expectation that a publisher would pick up my deck and take on the cost of it, that I would somehow have to finance the printing of these decks. And all of that felt very daunting to me. I have bookmarks saved in my browser of different printing options that have been there for years. How to print your deck overseas, pretty much in China. I've been on forums for people who make their own tarot cards, and I've been researching this, I'm sure, since 2005 or 2006. This has been on my radar. And then I would drop it because it would feel out of reach. And for years, people have been asking me to write a book or create some sort of physical product, and I would say someday it'll happen. But I didn't know when. So in February of this year, it's 2023 as I record this, an ad showed up on my Instagram feed for somebody who was selling a class on how to make your oracle deck. And the class was only going to be $17, which caught my attention. I was like, I can afford $17. And I started going down the rabbit hole. I started looking at the class and looking at other things, and then that inspired me to maybe do some more research, what other classes were out there. I ultimately did not take her class, but I have profound gratitude because that was the spark that brought this particular cycle of creation to me. So I started doing research and looking into other oracle card classes that were available. I started reading articles and watching YouTube videos. And a couple of pieces started to come together for me. One was the conversation that was happening about Midjourney. So if you don't know what Midjourney is AI, artificial intelligence. It is a program. And you input a text-based prompt, and then the AI creates artwork. I had played around with Midjourney last year in 2022 when it was still very, very young, and wasn't pleased with the results. But AI is continuing to learn, and so in February I decided to get on Midjourney again. And the images it was creating were beautiful. So I could put in a prompt that said, show me a beautiful angel on the beach at sunset in praise of God. And give it to me in pink tones with some gold sparkles. And Midjourney would create an image that reflected my prompt. And these images were breathtaking. And I was hooked. So the artwork piece came through Midjourney. And I'm somebody who can become obsessed with things. It's my Mercury in Gemini, and then I also have Mars and Aries in the 9th house. So when I go in, I'm all in. But I also then get full. It's sort of like the Las Vegas buffet syndrome, where I go in big and then I'm full. Then I'm done. But for many months, I was all in with Midjourney creations, and I kept learning more about prompt writing, and then the AI would give me an image, and I would build on it and find different art styles, and I've created thousands of images. And as an intuitive and as an angelic practitioner, so much of what I do exists in non-physical, non-visible realms. So I have images and symbolism that exist in my consciousness that I don't necessarily get to see reflected back to me in visual form in a way that I can share with others, other than just describing it. So working with Midjourney to bring these images forward was captivating. That there are images that have been created in this collaboration with AI that just touch my heart so deeply and reflect the love, the vibration, the energy, the healing that has been a profound part of my foundation all of these years. So Midjourney took care of the visual part of creating an oracle deck. The next piece to come in was, how would I create the deck? Meaning, how would I create the cards? So there are a couple different options. If I were truly a gifted digital designer, I would likely have worked in something like Adobe InDesign, which is made for print material, so for books, workbooks, oracle cards. And I have tried to learn InDesign over the years, and I struggle with it, and we are not good friends. We are acquaintances at best. And I knew if I had to create my deck in InDesign, I wouldn't do it. I'm in this really strange place in my life cycle where I won't do anything that's hard. If it's hard, if it's clumsy, I don't want to show up for it. I want easy and graceful. I'm Goldilocks. I want it just right. So I knew InDesign was not going to be my option. I know Photoshop. I'm not an expert at Photoshop, so I don't know Photoshop, but I know enough Photoshop to get through things. But it would have felt unwieldy to build it in Photoshop. And then I saw these wonderful videos on YouTube that beautiful, generous people put out, where they walk through how to build your oracle deck in Canva. Now, Canva is an online program, very easy to learn to use. The learning curve is very easy. And I thought, this I can do. I can build it in Canva. I will show up for that. So that was another piece of the puzzle that came through. So now I had Midjourney for my images. I had Canva as the platform where I could actually build the cards. The next piece was, how was I going to print them and fulfill the orders? So I knew that I did not want to have to finance a big print job. My husband would have been supportive of that had that been my choice. But I knew enough about myself that I did not want to have to pre-purchase 500 decks and have them living in my garage and then be responsible for fulfilling them. I wasn't going to do that because that has no joy in it for me, and that feels hard. So I started researching print-on-demand companies, which are just what they say they are. They print your order as you order them. And so there are no minimum orders, which is fantastic. There was one company I was looking at that had a minimum order of 25 that I had contemplated, but as I was contemplating my own energy, I realized one of the deal breakers for me was that I did not want to have to fulfill these orders. I did not want to be running to the post office every few days, dropping off boxes. I really didn't want to have to deal with sales tax. So if I were to fulfill orders, meaning you would go to the Illuminating Souls website and place your order, and I would get the deck of cards out of my supply and put them in a box for you and mail them off to you, I would have to collect sales tax in whatever way would be legally appropriate for the transaction. So if you lived in California, I would have to collect California sales tax. That would mean I would need a permit from the Board of Equalization. I would have to track all of that in terms of my accounting. I would have to pay the taxes to the Board of Equalization once a quarter. I didn't want to do that. Right? Nothing about that sounds fun. There's also the option of getting the decks printed and then shipping them to Amazon and having Amazon fulfill them. But that costs money. So that would mean that I would have to charge more for my cards. That didn't sound fun. So then I found this sweet little company called Drive-Thru Cards. And other people in other Oracle card Facebook groups had said that they had had good experiences with Drive-Thru Cards. And I love their business model. So there's a handy calculator on their site where they tell you what each deck will cost you to print. You upload the file to them, and then they print and fulfill the orders. So if it costs X number of dollars to print the deck, you then can mark the deck up, let's say another $8 or $10, and then you pay a royalty to them on the profit, and they fulfill the order. So this business model ticked all of my boxes. I didn't want to be going to the post office. I did not want to have to pay sales tax or be in charge of or responsible for the accounting work that comes with collecting sales tax. I didn't want to have to fund the printing of these decks. To me, that would take all the joy out of it for me. I just wanted joy from this experience. That's all I want, joy. How to distill the joy of this experience and omit the parts that were not fun for me. So I ultimately decided to work with Drive-Thru Cards. So I built the deck in Canva over a period of several months. I didn't always know what card I was going to create. Sometimes the image that I created in Midjourney would tell me what the card would be. And at first I started off with a card that just had one word on it. Part of what I was going back and forth about was I going to have a booklet? Because if you buy oracle cards, often they come with a booklet that have a little bit of a write-up about the card. And Wes was really sure I should have a booklet. So let me back up a little bit, because this would be a conversation that happened before I decided to go with drive-through cards. So before I ultimately decided to work with drive-through cards, there were a lot of moving pieces that I had to consider. I really wanted a deck where the cards were the same size as the Hay House decks, which I think is 3.5 by 5. I forget now. It's gone out of my brain and I'm not going to go look it up. And the Hay House cards come in a rigid 2-piece box, that beautiful box that's so satisfying to open. And then there's a booklet inside. So that was my original vision. Well, that gets really expensive. The rigid 2-piece box is expensive. The booklet is expensive. And as somebody who is going to be self-publishing, a deck like that with the booklet and the rigid 2-piece box would easily convert to a $50 price point if I was lucky for my customers. And that felt too rich. That was just, and it's not as if I'm making $50. It's, my margin is still the same. I would just have to pass all of those costs on to you. And would you really want to spend more for the rigid 2-piece box and the booklet? That didn't necessarily feel in alignment for me. So, drive-through cards offers a tuck box. It's a cardboard box that you would have if you were ordering playing cards or something like that. And the box can hold 80 cards. Initially, I designed my deck to be 55 cards. I thought that was a pretty good number, and that's where I had finalized my deck. 55 cards. I'd had about 10 to 15 cards that didn't make the cut, though, that I loved. But I was also really trying to be economical so that I could price my cards out in a way that they'd be easy for people to buy. So I did my prototype, and as it turned out, I'm glad I did it as a prototype because my margins were off, and I learned a lot from the first go-round, which none of you knew about because I only ordered one deck. I wanted to see how they would look. And I had to readjust my margins in Canva. But the other thing I noticed was they just had one size tuck box. And so my 55 cards in an 80-card tuck box, the box kind of collapsed in itself a little bit. And I didn't like that. I thought, well, that's not a really nice experience. So I thought, you know what? What if I just add 15 more cards to the deck because I already had them created? And so in round 2, I made this into a 70-card deck. It's actually 71 cards because one card is a hello from me. But there's 70 angel cards in the deck. And it feels very substantial now. And it fits beautifully in the tuck box. One of the odd idiosyncrasies about the way the tuck box is formed is it tucks on the long side of the box. So normally, if you're opening a playing card deck or a tarot deck, it opens at the top. This opens on the side. But I could live with that. I was like, you know what? I can handle that. That's fine. The other thing about drive-through cards is if you're ordering just one deck, they don't shrink wrap it. So shrink wrap is nice. It makes you remember that you're buying something new, but I thought I can live without it being shrink wrapped. And ultimately, I decided not to raise the price of the deck because I added the 15 cards. I figured, the 15 cards will come out of my cut. It's fine, because I wanted the price point of these cards to be in line with what people are used to spending on oracle decks, not taking into account when Hay House has their giant $10 sale, but spending between $25 and $30 for an oracle deck is in alignment with the industry standard. Versus if I had to charge $34.95 to $50 for a deck, to me that just didn't feel in alignment. So for the past few months, I have been using my prototype deck in my readings. And the readings are beautiful, beautiful. And so whenever I would do a reading with the cards, I would text who I was doing the reading for, especially if it's somebody who had my cell number. I would text them the cards so they could see the images, and the images are so beautiful. And then a few weeks ago, I got the prototype for the expanded deck, the deck where I had fixed the margins and added 15 more cards, and I changed the artwork out on a couple of the cards because it felt flat in the readings. And so now I was ready to go. And I thought, oh my God, now I have to announce it to people. It's one thing to conceptualize this moment. It's another thing for it to become real. So last week, I think, I did a soft launch to my mailing list, and some of you ordered it, so you were so wonderful and loving and supportive, and I'm so grateful. And then yesterday, I put it up on my website, and I made another YouTube video. I've got a couple videos out about the Oracle deck, and I announced it to Facebook. And the response has been wonderful. People have been so loving and supportive. And I found last night that I started to feel so vulnerable, which I was not expecting. I was really excited about this. And I was talking to my friend Judy. You've heard me talk about her before, my friend Jude's, yesterday. And I was sharing with her about how vulnerable I feel about this deck. And she says, of course you do. You're in every card. And I thought about that. And I thought, I am in every card. My heart, my vision, my energy is in every card. Every card is in this deck because it's deeply meaningful to me. The artwork I co-created with Midjourney. I drew it out of my heart to create a beautiful piece of artwork for each card. I gave thought to what I wanted the different angels to look like because I wanted a deck that was diverse. So often, as someone who has looked for angel art for years now, stock photography and clip art, the angels are always thin and young and beautiful and Caucasian, and that's not how I experience angels in my consciousness. So I wanted to build in diversity. I wanted to build in different body shapes, different age stages, different cultures. And I don't know that I was ultimately profoundly successful in that, but I love that when I pull cards from my deck, not all the angels are young and blonde and beautiful. And so many of these images, the angels, it just takes my breath away. They're so beautiful. I don't mean beautiful in terms of aesthetics. Oh, that's the wrong way to say it. I don't mean, you know what I mean, right? I'm really not saying this well. They reflect substance. They reflect depth. So even though these are illustrations, this is artwork, to me, there's a vibrancy to the images that I was able to create in mid-journey. So each card in the deck has really spoken to me and come from me, and each card has a word or a phrase, and then I have some loving words from the angels on the card. So I just actually pulled 3 cards for us that I thought I could describe to you so you get a sense. So the first card is incubation. And it says, the process of co-creation sometimes grows quiet as energy refocuses. This is such a time. And it's this beautiful illustration of a woman with butterflies all around her. And I loved this image when it was created. And this concept of incubation is something that is so powerful for me. One of my teachers, Mary Hulnick, once said, there is a difference between inertia and incubation. That there's this moment when we're in stillness or we're in a pause and we wonder why things are not in motion, why are things not moving? And often it's because we're in incubation. So incubation is our first card. The second card is angelic assistance. Of course it is. That makes so much sense, doesn't it? And it says you can ask your angels for help with anything. No request is too big or small. And this card was one of the 15 that got added. The picture is of an older male angel. He is so friendly. He's got long gray hair and a long gray beard, and he's wearing a purple robe. And there's just this kindness and this love emanating from him. Like I look at his face and I am so happy and I feel so connected. And so, of course, I would ask him for help. Thank you. Yes, help, please. And he's just hanging out there. He's like, whatever you need. What can I do? And then the third card is ever evolving. I love this card. You are always transforming, so make space for the expressions of you that are awakening. And it's this image of a woman, an angel, in a field of stars. There's stars all around her. And her eyes are closed as if she's in contemplation. And I love that all 3 of these cards are quiet cards. Incubation, angelic assistance, and ever evolving. It reminds us that we are in a state of transformation. Something is being born. We don't always see the big vision right away, or ever. We just take these small iterative moments, these steps forward, and somehow life is born in a new way. So I love getting to share these cards with you. And I'm grateful to share this process with you because I know some of you might want to make your own oracle deck someday. It is within reach. You can create an oracle deck and it does not have to cost you a lot of money. There are graceful ways forward for you to bring your wisdom and your vision into the world. And whether it's an oracle deck or it's something else, one of my life lessons to share with you is you have permission to make it easy. That was one of my biggest lessons from this experience, was to continue to pivot, to find ways to make this easy, because I was not going to say yes to anything that was hard. I don't have energy for hard things right now that are optional, right? Life brings us hard things and we have to move through them. But I was not up for adding hard things onto my optional to-do list. So I came into relationship with Midjourney, and I found my way to Canva, and I found myself to drive through cards. And each one of those felt like a yes, and felt like this could dwell within my comfort zone. So now they have been released into the world in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Those of you who ordered should be receiving your cards, and that's the next big experience, which is the part that I turn over to the angels that was causing me some anxiety last night of, okay, I hope they're delivered. I hope people are happy with them when they get them. There's a few weeks in between here and there. And so this was I could have had a V8 moment of, oh, angels, angelic assistance, will you please make sure that every deck arrives to its recipient gracefully and easily, and that they have a wonderful time, that they can feel the angelic love, and that they are delighted by their deck. Please let this be a joyful experience for them. And I forgot that I could ask for that. Of course the angels are helping with that. They're in the deck. They are my collaborators. They are my co-creators of this beautiful deck. So I take a deep breath in with you on that. And so this is a little bit about how my deck was born and my vulnerability hangover, and my hope is it will help give you permission to create something heartfelt, whatever that's going to be. You don't have to know what it is. Incubation. You're in incubation. It'll show up. It'll be revealed to you. The angels are very creative. They can bring things in your Instagram feed that will spark joy for you. So here's to sparking joy. That's somebody else's phrase. That's a Marie Kondo, right? She says sparking joy. I always like to try and remember who says brilliant things. So here's to sparking joy, and here's to incubation and angelic assistance and ever evolving in life. So thank you for letting me share this very intimate part of my journey with you. I so appreciate your love and support. I really do. Thank you for being part of the Illuminating Souls family. I am here doing this work because you exist and you are here with me. So thank you for being you, and thank you for finding your way here, and thank you for your beautiful light. I'm grateful for you. So I wish you the sweetest of dreams. I wish you blessings of love, and I look forward to connecting again soon. Thank you.